Here on the OCU Athletics Update, we're talking to a Delaware Resource Group Superstar Athlete of the Week, Tyler Alderman, senior from Fishers, Indiana, has had 2 double-doubles in the last 2 games for the Stars. And Tyler, tell me about how the team's performed overall the last couple of games.
The last couple of games kind of been subpar to our expectations. Overall, we've had a pretty good season. Obviously, we got a pretty good record, but these last couple of games they've been tough.
You've had 2 double-doubles in the last 2 games. What's gone into your recent performance? With Terrence going down, the expectations of everyone, especially myself included, have been they skyrocketed, and I've had several talks with coach and the guys, and I just need to step my overall play up, and it's time. What brought you here to OCU?
Coach V himself, he single-handedly recruited me over the summer. He talked to me, and based off our first conversations, I felt comfortable talking to him. I felt like he really cared and that he really wanted to win, and it just felt right.
You and Xavier Smith, both in the starting lineup, both big guys. We're not really used to seeing that here at OCU. What's it been like playing with X and playing in this kind of system?
Playing with X is great. Every day at practice, we push each other to play better. I mean, he makes me play better. He's a great shot blocker, one of the best I've ever played with. And at first, when we first got here, he was blocking me left and right, and he made me adjust. And he's made me become a better player, and I think I help him do the same.
You come from the state of Indiana, obviously. Big basketball emphasis in the state. What was it like growing up playing in Indiana?
Growing up in Indiana, basketball is what we do, playing outside, even when it's cold, in December, January, outside shooting hoops, and then got to high school, and it was a big deal. Went to a 5A high school and had good coaches who played overseas and played in the league who really helped me and pushed me and helped me develop my game.
What's your major here at OCU?
I'm studying criminal justice.
And so what career plans do you have when basketball's over?
Ironically, I'd actually like to follow my dad's footsteps and join the fire department. So I'm just studying criminal justice. I'm very interested in it, and it's very interesting to learn about and talk about, but fire department is where my heart lies.
I understand you play the piano as well.
Yeah, I got a little hidden talent there. Got a little something up my sleeves.
So how did you learn, and what do you like to play?
Actually, my dad taught me. I can play by ear, and he can kind of too. So when I was a kid, I sat down and we just kind of played. And as I got older, I just took it and ran with it. But probably one of the most that people know is I can play "Don't Stop Believing" by Journey. That's pretty recognizable for most people.
All right, talking to Delaware Resource Group Superstar Athlete of the Week, Tyler Alderman. You can follow the Stars on OCUSports.com.
There's a call to be answered. The spirit of competition is still alive inside. The desire still drives. The phrase student athlete has a great ring to it. Lasting friendships are ready to be made. You just want to keep playing. Game on. Learn more at naia.org.
Here on the OCU Athletics Update, we're talking to men's wrestling coach C.J. Campbell. The Stars currently ranked 6th in the NAIA. And coach, in your last time out in duel against UCO, a couple of wins for your team. Tell us about your team's performance in that one.
It was a disappointing performance for us overall as a team. We gave up several falls at the beginning of the duel and lower half of our lineup, and you just can't give up those falls in college wrestling and expect to win duels. So, big win from Christian Mendez for us at 57. 74. Ricky McCarty, we expected to get a win for us there. Fell a little bit short, and then we got to the top half of our lineup at 84 in heavyweight, where we've beaten those wrestlers before and expected to get some wins there. So we're hoping for a little bit more upsets and performances from the guys in the bottom half of our lineup. We've been plagued by injury all season long, and first half of the season, our injuries were at the top half of our lineup with Derek and Ricky. And now we're dealing with injuries in the bottom half of our lineup. At 141, James Landau was not healthy going into that duel, and his understudy, Matt Landgraf, who's started out really strong this year, was previously ranked 7th in the NAI and he's dealing with a pretty severe injury that we're just getting him healthy from. And so not having momentum is a big deal, in college wrestling. And when you start off the duel with a pin at 25, another pin at 33, going into 141, expecting to turn things around there a little bit, and weren't able to get that done. It just kind of snowballed for us, and we got into halfway point of the duel at 157, and before we were able to start getting the momentum to swing our way, and it did. It picked up from there a little bit, and we competed really well, from that point on. But can't give it those falls early on.
You guys also went 1-2 earlier in the year at the NWCA National Duels. Tell us about what you took away from that performance.
Also a disappointing performance for us there. We expected to be in the semifinals against Grandview, and maybe that was part of the problem. We might have overlooked our competition. Baker, who was the first duel of the tournament for us, we overlooked them. They were a tough team. They were ready for us. Same problem that we had against UCO. Bottom half of our lineup gave up falls, and we had to try to bounce back from big deficits. And we were within a couple of points going into the top two weight classes, 197 and heavyweight, and still had a chance to win, and just weren't able to get the job done. Then we came back on the backside of the bracket against the tough team of Cumberland, and once again they were ready for us. They got some falls early on, and that we've got to make some adjustments there at the bottom half of our lineup and get those things corrected. Fortunately for us, this half of the season is more geared towards individual tournament competition and getting us ready for the individual national tournament in March. And so we're no longer expected to perform cohesively in dual formats. We've got 2 duels left against NEO, which is going to be a big duel for us next week there at their place. Senior night against Central Baptist here February 2nd. So we got to get ready for those duels. We got to make sure that we're able to perform cohesively, as a team there. But those individual performances have really got to start to stand out for us. We got to get guys healthy. Those injuries have got to clean up. So we're going to what a lot would call a Nationals preview in Missouri Valley this weekend. A lot of the top 10 teams, top 20 teams in the country are going to be there represented with their starting lineups. And, we're not going to have starters in some of our weight classes. We're going to give James Landahl, Matt Landgraf, Mike McDonald, who's a freshman this year, hasn't had much of an opportunity to compete for us yet. We're going to give them some time to heal up and get ready to go. Evan Hudson at 197 will be out of the lineup for us there. So we're looking for big performances this weekend from our 25-pounder Mason Nafee, who's really stood out a lot this year as a true freshman. He's beaten top ranked opponents. He's, as a matter of fact, has common opponent wins against the top 3 wrestlers in the country, and a head-to-head win against a kid from Campbellsville, Campazano, who's was previously ranked 3rd in national rankings. New rankings are coming out tomorrow, so we'll see if there's any shifts up or shifts down in rankings there. But he's capable of wrestling with the best kids in the country. He just struggles a little bit with consistency and performing at that level every time he takes the mat. So I'm hoping for a good weekend from him. We've got, Christian Mendez has been pretty solid for us throughout the season. Hoping for good performances from him this weekend, as well as Ricky McCarty, Derek Severson, Corey Walker, and Bryson McGowan. We're waiting for him to kind of come into his own and do what he's capable of doing. Corey Walker has been pretty much a rock of the team so far this year, ranked 3rd nationally, had some big wins for us already, has beaten some top 10 opponents, and Bryson beats him when they compete, but Bryson has yet to match up that well against other opponents on the other side of the mat, and so we're expecting him to finally start to reach his potential and get those key wins that's going to propel him up into the rankings where he belongs. And if those 2 perform at their best at the end of the season, we're expecting 2 All-Americans at heavyweight. So we'll see what happens there.
Earlier in the year, your team hosted the inaugural OCU duels, went 4-0 in that event. What was that event like?
It was a great event. We're excited to have hosted that. We had great teams show up to that event and gave us some really good competition. I think everybody really enjoyed that event. We're going to do it again next year, and probably add a couple more teams to the mix and just keep that thing going. But we were kind of clicking all cylinders at that point. We had just gotten Derek and Ricky back into the lineup at 74 and 84, solidifying our top half of our lineup. We were not as injury rattled at the bottom half of our lineup as we were after those duels were over, and so we were able to hold our own throughout those duels, and that was probably our best team performance so far this season. And so we need to get back to competing like we did then. And we've changed our training regimen a little bit. We're backing things up a little bit in practice. We've been really intense, really heavy practices. Conditioning has been, I think we're in the best shape that we've ever been in. But we need to now kind of slow down and focus on technique and fundamentals and getting healthy and getting our minds where it needed to be for us to compete at our best when it's most important, regionals and nationals.
You've got a countdown up in the wrestling room to the NAIA championships. What kind of motivation has that provided?
Hopefully it just keeps the guys focused on what the end result is. It can be hard to stay focused on day to day, especially coming off of some losses and you get discouraged and you take things for granted. And sometimes the guys that have been performing really well forget that they've got to keep doing that every day. And every day in practice matters. So I talk about that. I point to that clock regularly and let them know we've got 35 days left till the national championship, and it's time to go. Let's get it done. Make sure that you're making every day count, every minute count. We talk about what's your competition doing right now? Are they outworking you? You better make sure that you're doing your job every day, so that when the dust settles, the team that's worked the hardest is going to be the one that's represented at the end. And we expect that to be us.
All right, Coach, thanks a lot. We're talking to men's wrestling coach C.J. Campbell. You can follow the Stars on OCUsports.com.